Do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
What the f- is that, dude?
Well, g'day, folks. How are you? Try and turn that down a little bit so you can see more of me. Hope it's been absolutely spectacular. Of course, last Friday a bit sad around here. Saturday got a lot better. Sunday we haven't moved on exactly, but thank you for everybody's kind wishes about the loss of Achilles. I've passed what I can along to Cass, and she's received a lot of messages as well. So thank you to everybody for those messages of love and support. He was a great dog, and first really, really big dog, and he was the size of a wolf, I can tell you. He was a very, very big boy, head on him like a Shetland pony. He was just a really, really great dog, and he was certainly head of the pack of the house. So there was a bit of loss, but and the other two dogs particularly have noticed he hasn't been around, so hasn't affected them too much. They're still out running around chewing anything that they possibly can. We've got one that decides he's going to be a chainsaw these days, and that's Kobe. He's turned himself into a very effective chainsaw of limbs up to about 3 inches across. No worries. Leave it with him for 10 minutes. He'll chew it down into wood chip for you. So, which is good as long as there's no goats around, because he sometimes can't tell the difference between a goat and a bit of wood. It's a problem. I'm joking, all right? Don't get too upset. First of all, I want to, because I haven't done it in a long time, and it's quite remiss of me. We do live stream on the Cairns News YouTube channel most nights when the show is live. And I don't often mention Cairns News, but they are integral. If you are looking for real, honest, good journalism in Australia, then I highly recommend to you that you go and check out cairnsnews.org. And here is what they're showing on the pages at the moment. There are some very, very good articles in here, and worthwhile having a bit of a read if you're one of those people who likes to go to mainstream media websites and have a bit of a read. Then this one provides maybe a slightly different perspective on the news, but I would suggest to you at times much more accurate. So, cairnsnews.org. Wonderful blokes. And I've been quite remiss. I haven't actually spoken to the boys in a while. And I was putting the show together tonight and loading up their page. And I'm thinking, oh, God, I haven't really talked about them in a long time. So, and of course, we're going to talk about the Donald Trump second assassination attempt. Now, Alex Jones is saying they're going to do it again. I can see no way why they won't try it again. This assassination attempt wasn't really an assassination attempt, though, was it? The guy didn't get to fire a shot. All the shots were fired by Secret Service, none of which hit him by the sound of it. He was between 300 and 500 yards away. That makes him probably between 400 and 600 meters. Is that how that works? And, it's not surprising that whatever submachine guns the Secret Service are concealing under their jackets, they're probably not long range, although they might have sniper teams around. Or you'd think that would be the case, wouldn't you? If an ex-president was somewhere, they'd cordon off areas and all that. But no, not quite the case at all. So it's quite clear, obviously, that when you go to Donald Trump's golf courses, they don't yell "for" when something's got to warn somebody. They yell "gun." I suppose it's just as effective. Everybody ducks for cover. Just saying. At any rate, great articles there at the Cairns News. Really good layout and a very good breakdown including some of the new revelations coming out about the Butler definite assassination. Well, it was a definite assassination attempt to a point. And some of the absolute amazingly basic, bad command decisions that were made by at least one female who, at the time of being appointed the head of this entire Donald Trump moving into Butler thing, she had failed 3 high-level courses through the Secret Service that she was meant to pass to be in a position to lead, not just be part of, but to lead the entire security task force for the Butler Trump speech. And of course, we know how that turned out. Very, very poorly. I'm wondering if that particular female agent is the one that we see in the video fumbling to try and find where the holster is to reholster her weapon. It's one of the funniest things I reckon I've ever seen. A supposed Secret Service agent who unholsters her weapon, does almost a classic 1970s, 80s police stance. What was that movie called? Police Academy stance, gun up, and then nothing to shoot at. So goes to put it away and can't just, oh God. If it was her, wouldn't be at all surprised. Not all surprised. But Donald Trump seemed to survive this assassination attempt by not even being in the line of sight of the shooter. Probably within range, but it would be a bloody good shot with an AK-47 at that range. However, I don't believe he would have been shooting him at, that sort of range. He was going to wait for him to play up the next hole and have a shot at him then. So the argument there is, did the Secret Service do their job? I guess, kind of, sort of. How did they manage to ascertain that there was a gun barrel poking through the fence, let alone the backpacks and associated other bits and pieces that they've found? It's all a bit interesting. I'm of the opinion that the attempts will keep going. They absolutely must keep going on behalf of the deep state, because they cannot, under any circumstances, allow Trump to become the next president of the United States of America. There are a lot of reasons, and a lot of them have dollar signs in front of them for that. Not for you and me. They're planning on breaking us. But for Donald Trump, they're very, very scared. He released this after the big kerfuffle this morning. There were gunshots in my vicinity. They weren't actually aimed at him. They were aimed at the bad guy. But before rumors start spiraling out of control, I want to tell everybody that I am safe and well. Nothing will slow me down. We will never surrender. I hope that is the case. And Melania Trump has come out with something recently, another video of hers where she's criticised the FBI for the raid on Mar-a-Lago. I haven't watched that video yet. I've read a transcript of it. I don't know what her strong words are. I suppose any words from a first lady are pretty strong in that regard. Here's why the deep state is so shit scared of Donald John Trump and his second run at the presidency. This leading independent analysis of electoral college votes indicates that Trump has an almost 50-point lead over Harris at the moment. You would nearly have to call that unassailable at this stage, I would think, unless Donald Trump died. Will there be an election? Well, I've always said I'm doubtful, very, very doubtful that there'll be an election in November for a variety of reasons. The biggest being they can't let Trump get control. How are they going to stop that election? Well, there is a little known, but I have no doubt the Democrats have found it and are gearing up to use it right now. There's a little known caveat or law inside the American Constitution that allows the president to extend his term if the country is in a time of war. Oh, okay. So what are we ramping up for at the moment? What's going on with Biden and Russia at the moment and Ukraine? Well, Alex Jones is 100% right. If you haven't seen that video, I could probably load it up and play it. But I believe over the weekend, Biden and crew have given the okay for US-made, NATO-operated weapons, missiles of medium range to be operated inside Ukraine and operated at targets located inside Russia. Now, that is without doubt an act of war on behalf of Biden and the American administration. Biden and the administration have already admitted that. In fact, probably close to 2 years ago, when they were asked this very question, would there ever be a time where they would enable that sort of weaponry to go to Ukraine? And they said categorically that would not ever happen because Mr. Putin would consider that an act, and he has said so. Well, he said so many, many times, and I suspect has done saying much more about it. Now, they're going to try and demonize the Russians, and we should resist that at all costs. There is a headline I think I saw on the Cairns News website. I think I've closed that page down now, bugger. I'm sure there was a headline on there somewhere. Let me just have it. Yeah, Ukraine is not a country. It is a giant CIA base. That's an article from yesterday. Go and have a read of that. If you are in ever any doubt about just how perverted elements running that country are, there is a wealth of information available online. And I'm sure all the doubters will say, and the trolls will say, oh, yeah, we've got plenty of information that'll refute that. The fact is, you actually don't. What you have is second-hand, third-hand, fifth-hand mainstream media reports and propaganda issued from a government you blindly believe. You are incapable of independent research for the most part. And when you are found wanting in your arguments, and you do a little bit and discover that we were right and you were wrong, you are incapable of admitting it. Incapable. Instead, you will misdirect, you will obfuscate, you will try and start another battle on another front without ever admitting that you were wrong on the initial one. That's a sad, sad way to live your life. And I thought it was a deliberate thing that, trolls and, normies that really don't want to see. I thought they were just doing it deliberately. But I've come to the opinion over the weekend that it's really not. Some might, but I think for the most part, the normies and all that just are too scared to think about the alternatives that we might discuss on a daily basis and now expect to be normalized. Well, there's a lot of interesting shit going down about normalizing crap in Australia, and it's starting with the Queensland government. We'll get onto that very, very shortly. Before we do that, I want to talk about the price of silver and gold at the moment. Now, I have to tell you that today has been a pretty exciting day when it comes to the price of gold and silver. Today, the price of gold has reached its highest level historically in this country. Now, that's pretty exciting, but we've also seen the price of silver take a bit of a jump too. So you'll recall in the last week or so, it was around $1. It was around $42, $43 per ounce. It jumped up to 46 and a bit. It's just under 45 now. I do have this little slide that I can show you. So this was as at 5 o'clock this afternoon. The current gold price was 3,847 and looking like it was going up. The current silver price was $46.07. It is right now $45.91. and the gold price is about the same. Now, the current gold-silver ratio, which is the thing we should be getting most excited about, while it is great news if you hold gold and you've held it for a while, fantastic news. And that would be exactly the advice that Ainsley Bullion would give you, or any stacker would give you. Hold, hold, hold. Keep buying. Now, we've all heard and hoping for the day where the silver price stops being fiddled. And that date is coming. Do we know exactly when? I feel a bit like Chicken Little, saying, oh, it could be it, it could be it, it could be it. Well, I guess it could be. None of us know. The reason we don't know is because all the indicators in the market that would allow us to predict what the market is going to do are being manipulated, are being obfuscated, or are simply disappeared. Now, who is doing that and how they're doing it is going to form part, I think, of what this great reveal will be about our financial system. But watching the gold price at the moment, that is an Australian record high. So if you are holding gold, it's going in the right direction. And if you've been holding gold for a few years, you might have bought that gold for as little as $800 or $900 an ounce. You might have bought it for $1,200. You might have bought it for $1,700 or $1,800. Right now, even if you bought it for $1,000, I beg your pardon, $2,000, you're making really good money. It is appreciating. And the thing is, it's going up. Of course, holding precious metals is also important because it keeps you out of the system. It gives you a way to operate outside of their financial system. And I was talking to Michael Engerman at Ainsley Bullion this afternoon. We're going to have a little chat tomorrow. It'll be in the morning, so I'll play it back tomorrow night. But we're going to have a chat about the market, and he's at a loss to explain how the market is being manipulated, or whether it is in fact being manipulated, because the data simply does not allow an accurate assessment. What it does show is that there is certain data points that are missing that shouldn't be, or that the numbers simply, in accounting terms, do not add up. The number of ounces required versus the number of ounces bought and sold versus the cost, nothing adds up. Why doesn't it add up? Well, we would like to find some of that out too, I am absolutely sure. Hey, I forgot to say hello to people in the room tonight, first up. That's very rude of me. I do apologize, family. Who was? Margot first in the room tonight, followed by the lovely Michelle Bradley Smith and Tim. I think I saw a comment from you there somewhere, Tim, that I wanted to put a star on. And now it seems they have... Now it seems they've changed the way that I can save comments I want to go back to. It seems to be a bastard of a way because I don't have... Oh, yes, righto. Yes, I do. I have found a way of doing it. Clearly, I just didn't do it earlier. Tim, nice to see you up and about, mate. And, oh, gee, now, I don't know. I don't think I loaded up your... Tim is thinking about starting up his own party, and I don't think I've loaded it up. Right, so that's as much as I'm going to tell you until I get the picture and I load it up. Just to let you know, he'll probably get a lot of support from certain quarters, and good luck to him, Tim. God love you. Trust all things are going well with the fifth wheeler too, brother. Oh, I just said, oh, you're having a nightmare. Oh, you sure it's not a nightmare? G'day, Dave. Chaos. Aussie Sue, lovely to have you in. Just scanning a few of these things. Yeah. You think they should be yelling duck, not gun? They're not. Oh, be very, very quiet. We're hunting twump. So, all right. G'day, Phil. What the DM? Hello to everybody. Hans, Andrew Smith. G'day, Will and Kate. Lovely to see you guys back in the room. Harm's up and wandering about. Good to have you out. I'm hoping your van is getting all the appropriate love and attention it needs, mate. And looking forward to seeing you on the road at the appropriate time. Katrina. Hello to you. G'day, Daniel. Nice to have you up and about. Sunflowers in the house. And, oh, gee, I'm only about halfway through it. Well, there's a little bit of news about Jeffrey Addleston. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show tonight too. G'day, Scott. There you go. Look, I think I've got to just about everybody. Everybody new. Jinder Lee. Miss saying g'day to you, mate. Good to talk. Rip you. I'm sorry, dude. On red alert. All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. You're 100% right on that. If silver goes, everything's gone. You know, the whole wall is coming down. And I don't think there'll be too many secrets once the financial system crashes. So I do believe that will happen. Of course, as Michael said to me today, the industry's been talking about it for the last 20 years or more, but we can't predict the date it's going to happen. Yep, currency is going down, one of those indicators, but what are they doing? Hello, Sandy. God love you. Hope all things are going well. Still working. My Lord, what donkey needs pampering at this time of night? Or is Baz just not doing enough? Fair dinkum, Baz. Lift your game, mate. Go, gee. Sandy's GoFundMe page is still available. If you would like to donate, we would love your support there. It's $64,000 they're chasing to get a brand new horse float, but it'll be a donkey float, so to speak. It needs some modifications. They can put, obviously, a few more donkeys in than horses, but to do that, they need stalls and that sort of stuff inserted and water troughs and yada, 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 yada. Anyway, there is quite a lot required to it. Who knew? I asked whether or not it was possible for us to go and live in it, because at $64,000, it sounds like, you know, it's a caravan for four-legged things, but I think it greatly deserved, and for the work that Barry and Sandy do, rescuing donkeys up and down the east coast of Australia and giving them a home for the rest of their days is, I think, just one of the most noble things humans can do, looking after our animals that are treated poorly or abandoned. And that's pretty much what happens with a lot of the donkeys that wind up at the sanctuary. So thanks to Sandy and Baz for all their work and their love that goes into keeping the donkey sanctuary going. And I don't know how many you've got there. Last time I was there, you had around 300. Numbers fluctuate, so maybe I'm overguessing that. Maybe you had 300 acres. I might be getting a bit confused. But at any rate, I hope it's all going well, and we'll get to that new magnificent donkey emporium on wheels. If it kills me, we will find a way of making it happen. All right, let's get back into the bits that have been making the news over the last, little while. Here's a little bit of interesting news. You may or may not be able to help confirm this, but various AI things on the interwebs, when you ask for a bio and a background on Anthony Albanese, refer to his Jewish mother. Here's a picture of Mum and Albo. Now, apparently, Jewish mother and maternal grandfather were Jewish. That's apparently the story going about. I have a question. So what? What's it matter? What does it mean? If that's true. So what? What does it matter? What does it mean if it's true? Have a think about that, won't you? Some interesting letters. This is for not just red fire ants. Now, far north Queensland, I've known, have yellow crazy ants, but apparently the yellow crazy ants have come into the Moreton Shire Council. This is the license for the person to sell the product to kill the crazy ants. Of course, what they're going to do is spray that product over anything they bloody like, essentially. So if you happen to be in the Moreton Shire and you weren't concerned about fire ants, you better be concerned about crazy ants, because they're coming to spray you too. That's just a little bit of news that came in late this afternoon from me, and for me, and I think quite concerning, given the front we're on with everything going on with the fire ants around this property and others on this particular ridge. Something really disturbing happened the other day in the Queensland
Well,
Parliament.
this is a very dark day in Australia's history, ladies and gentlemen, because this week the Respect at Work and Other Matters Amendment Bill 2024 was passed in Queensland Parliament. Well, what does this mean for you? Well, from now on, we're going to have to police our thoughts and our speech very carefully on social media. And here's why. Any post made on social media now is deemed by this bill to be a public act. And any public act found offensive by a reasonable person of the minority community that it describes is then chargeable under Section 52A of the Criminal Code. And these charges carry a maximum sentence of 3 years jail time. So as you can see, it's not hyperbole to say that this bill paves the way for Queensland citizens to serve jail time for social media posts that offend minorities. This bill is the most egregious encroachment of freedom of speech that I have ever seen in Australia. And worse still, this is a piece of legislation that is self-protecting in the sense that to speak out against it is to be in contradiction.
Yep. If you speak out against it, you will be contravening it. You will put yourself in a great deal of danger. Now, I'll give you a link so that you can piece of work yourself. Queensland government for rolled this through. That's just how it is. That's a link to the legislation. Now, I'm not going to go through and read all this, but I can tell you that on first glance, the definitions they're using have changed significantly. The traps that they are laying are broad, and the protections for people who might post something on social media, or in my case, do a show, are extreme. The restrictions placed upon us all are beyond the pale. Beyond, and these are just some of the changes these criminals in the Queensland Parliament put forward. Now, which criminals? Well, it happens to be the ones all associated with the Labor Party in this instance, and lo and behold, the same kind of instrument is being forced through by the Labor Party federally at this juncture as well. It's rather interesting that Queensland had to go at around about the same time the federal Parliament had to go, only without any consultation, as far as I'm aware, with any public body. This has been railroaded through with the Labor Greens coalition and no support from anyone else. Rammed through. This is the most egregious attack on free speech this country has ever seen. And I think I've probably said enough, because that's essentially what old mate said. We might be cellmates. It is unbelievable. I need to actually have a conversation with a lawyer about what I can and can't say about it before I can say anything about it. And that's exactly what they want. They want to stifle conversation. They want to stifle thought, free thought. They want to silence it, not stifle it. Bad use of words. These people are criminals of the highest degree, and the Queensland people get to elect a new bunch, I would hope, of criminals. Well, not criminals, but I don't think we're going to elect a whole bunch of us into the Queensland Parliament come next month, are we? Because I haven't seen any of you standing up. Have you? Nobody's reached out to me to say, yeah, Carl, I'll do it. Not one of you. Bit disappointed, if I'm honest. But not surprised, sadly. It is a big commitment to want to do this. But right now, I would be prepared almost to give my vote to anyone, independent or party, but it would have to be a party at this stage. And I guess it would have to be the opposition as it currently sits. If they were prepared to repeal that bill in its entirety immediately they were elected to govern. There may well be other bills that have been rammed through by this bunch of satanic heathens roaming the streets and the halls of our parliament in Queensland. These weak, lily-livered people who can't take criticism and certainly can't take critical thought, critical analysis, or truth when it comes to speaking after you've analysed some of the bullshit that these people come out and try and get the general public to swallow. And unfortunately, many of the general public are in this life to swallow bullshit. I don't know why they chose soul contract to come back to Earth and swallow bullshit. I don't know what. Well, it could be a lesson they're trying to learn. Bullshit tastes bad. Stop swallowing bullshit. And I guess it is working. More and more people are waking up. More and more people are starting to realize the lies that are being told around the jab and the spicy cough. More and more are realizing that they're going to run another one of these plans. And I hope more and more are going to be strong and say no more than last time. I know our group will. We will resist, we will resist, we will resist until, I guess, they knock on the door, hold us down and stick it in us. If it comes to that, God help us all. God help us all, because no amount of holding back the people from picking up the pitchforks, no amount of words, no amount of goodwill, no amount of reason will stop that from happening if the government decides to come door to door and hold you down to jab you. It will be the beginning of something absolutely terrible and something frightening. Something this nation has never, ever experienced before. If you thought the Eureka Stockade was worth celebrating, this will be much bigger than that. Much bigger. It will be a unifying thing for a nation. Like most fledgling nations in the world, they fought for their independence. Australians didn't. We were a cultured continent. A cultured continent. And I don't mean cultured by way of art and finery. I mean cultured like a petri dish. Cultured. We were the colonial experiment. We've never been out of the system. Not from the moment our birth certificate was signed by our parents. We have never been out of the system. Until more people come to realize that. And I understand it is a large pill to try and swallow, because once you swallow that pill, the ramifications and the learning that you, or the questions that you raise in yourself, once you accept that first one, are mind-altering. No one wants to think that anyone would be capable of doing this to us, or any group would be capable of doing this at all. It took me 18 months to get my head around what I believe is at least a portion of the scale of this deception. I've seen maps that show the entire detailed deception laid out bare, dating back centuries. We have never been anything but a battery to their financial system, providing them financial wealth, while they provide us bread and circuses while exerting control. So what we need to do for the Queensland election is get our support behind anyone who would and have the power to repeal this piece of legislation immediately they are sworn in, as their first order of business. That question, if there is anybody from mainstream media following this, and I sincerely doubt there isn't, you must ask Christofouli and co. whether or not that is something they would stand by and platform as part of this campaign. They'd be insane if they didn't. I'm not the only one that could think of this, surely. And, well, strategists, political planners. They don't do good selections, do they? And that's because it's controlled from behind the scenes. Well, if the ones behind the scenes are too stupid to realize the opportunity that they have to platform on just this single issue, they could win on just this single issue. But if they are too stupid to figure out how that is, then I will come and consult for you. All right? Ordinarily, I would never consider to do that. But that is a genuine offer I make. You'll pay me, but I will consult for you and show you how, because you've got nobody in your ranks, clearly, who have the vaguest friggin' idea how to win an election. I will show you a way to at least get a lot more votes than you did last time, with a definite platform to remove this piece of bullshit legislation introduced by the Labor Party of Queensland. It could see young kids put in jail for 3 years for making a comment on social media that might hurt somebody's feelings. Are you starting to wake up how stupid this is? If that sort of law is rolled out across Australia, it won't matter that Albanese wants to institute an age verification system. Who would be stupid enough to want to be on social media? Or at least their version of social media? No, that's where underground platforms and communication systems will and have already started. And yes, they think they get them. They think they know them. And the big companies go and buy out the little ones, and sometimes they get the things they're after and sometimes they don't. Sometimes those other things go off and create new programs on the interwebs that allow communication encrypted communication. Something that the deep state is cracking down on everywhere. Everywhere. Why? Because they don't want us communicating. They don't want us sharing the information. They don't want us tearing down their lies, showing the falsities for what they truly are. They don't want us educating you. They'd be happier if you just sat at home and watched whatever they were feeding you at this time of night, or whatever you'd normally be doing at the time you're watching or listening to this. Do something else. Do something that they suggest would be good for you to do. You know, go to McDonald's or do something else that's really healthy for yourself that they are suggesting. Because we all know there isn't too much healthy being suggested. Well, it sounds and looks, and they make it look that way. Got some real issues going forward with that. And we might get on and have a bit of a talk about that one night too. There is something else I did want to show you here tonight. I'll try and do it with that. I think that's done it. And no, I've lost it. No, I've got it back. It's all good. Have a look at this. The US military has revealed a $65 million matrix project to plug our brains directly into computers. Now, this project started January 14, 2017. What happened January 6? Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. July 14, 2027. This is right in the heart of Barack Obama time, isn't it? Or is this a Trump thing? I think it's a Trump thing. So DARPA was awarded a contract to 5 organizations and one company to develop neural implants that can enable communication between the brain and digital systems. The funding to the tune of $65 million comes under the agency's Neural Engineering System program, launched last year under the Obama administration's Brain. There you go. I knew Obama was in there somewhere. Brain Initiative. So this was something that came together while Obama was in power, and they just wrote about it in the first term of Trump. Trump hadn't had any input into this at all. Paradromics. That sounds interesting. Company out of San Jose and Brown University will focus on the aspects of hearing and speech. Columbia University is going to focus on seeing and hearing. Yeah, so I wonder how much further down the track they are, considering that's a 2017 article. It's a tad frightening, I would have thought, given the advancements in the technology we know we've had. God knows the advancements in the technology that we don't know we've got. So I would suggest that is probably just a little confronting for many. Speaking of confronting, if you're in Canada at the moment, they're really pushing 5G and wanting you to buy a 5G phone and do all those wonderful things and have access to all those wonderful things that 5G brings you. The problem is...
Hey everybody, Cohen here with Cohen's Phone Repairs. Today I have an update on 5G. Now everybody says don't get a 5G phone because they're dangerous because of the 5G. Now I have 2 5G phones in front of me. Right there is where the 5G chip is supposed to be. And right there is where the 5G chip is supposed to be. I'm sorry to break this to everybody, but every phone, and again, I fix phones every day, so you can take this from a reliable source. There's not a single phone in Canada that supports 5G. There's not a single carrier in Canada that supports 5G. It's a marketing scam. There's no such thing as 5G in this phone. What you're investing in is 5G for the future. So they're charging $200 extra for 5G when it's not even there. I don't know if this speaks wonders to you, but I think the government's doing other things with the 5G towers. So if this doesn't say something to you, I don't know what will. But again, I fix phones every day, and every 5G phone I fix does not even have a 5G chip in it. And right there is where it's supposed to go.
I don't know, our Canadian brothers and sisters might want to look into that. I'm reasonably confident we've got, well, I don't know why I'd be reasonably confident we've got 5G here, but I'm not a phone repairer, and I wouldn't know what a 5G chip looked like, and I'm not pulling my phone apart to have a look. So if you are a phone repairer and you want to do your own little video on that and show us what he's talking about, a bit of a comparison, I'd love to see that. You can send it to me, carl@vofhq.com. That would be very gratefully received. Here's a weird one. Sore throat that could leave patients at the risk of heart attack and stroke. That's one of those studies you can trust that comes out. Risk of heart attack and stroke from a sore. So the flu can now kill you with a heart attack or a stroke. And they're issuing warnings about it. I mean, seriously. Unfreaking believable. What next? Oh, well, there's this. I mean, this is a transport department priority lane. Senior citizens get priority, pregnant women get priority, people with disabilities get priority, and down the bottom there, LGBTQ plus people, they get priority too. That's all I have to say about that. Yeah, and I'm sure our Canadian policeman agrees.
Fuck you. Good lad.
Yeah, go for it. Fuck.
I'm sorry, yes. All right. Megyn Kelly has been on Tucker Carlson. He's been doing a bit of a tour around America at the moment, so she was speaking live. She did put out some very interesting information about Epstein.
Not that Jeffrey Epstein's alive. I want to clarify that, at least not to my knowledge. You will be hearing from Jeffrey Epstein, I think, at some point in the next 12 months. And I know the person who is going to bring it to you, and I've heard the thing myself. This is not BS. You'll see.
Without divulging, the details that you can't divulge, but how big is that story, do you think?
Oh, I mean, I think it's got tentacles everywhere.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's got huge tentacles. And at the moment, I'm absolutely 100% confident that one of those tentacles reaches all the way to the royal family. Now, when you think about royal families, you think about the king and the bit of bad luck they've been having basically since, well, before he became king. The media, for whatever reason, keep trying to feed us this distraction, and that's all it is. There are so many people caught up in the whole royal drama of things. So at the moment, King Charles is trying to get Prince Andrew out of the house he's been occupying since before he married Sarah Ferguson. And Sarah Ferguson is still living in the house too. I'm not sure if the two princesses are with their husbands and children. Quite possibly. It has enough rooms. Andrew apparently doesn't come out of his bedroom very much, walks around in slippers a lot. And given his association with Jeffrey Epstein, probably that's about all. He still treats people appallingly and hasn't been seen out in public in quite some time. The king is trying to get him to move into a smaller cottage, Frogmore or something like that. The larger one obviously requires about £500,000 a year of upkeep. And Andrew has no money, and it seems like King Charles isn't giving any to him. He's a hard old bastard, King Charles, isn't he? Well, it seems he might be mellowing a bit towards Harry. Came out, well, a little while ago that there was a birthday message sent from the royal family to Harry on the occasion of his 40th birthday. It can't be confirmed, but I do have a version, I think, of what the message said here. It was an 11-word message. I can't confirm that this is the actual message that was sent, but this is the message as it was relayed to me. Happy birthday, you little shit. Father sends his best. Regards, the stand-in. Not quite sure what that meant. Ah, there you go. And on that little note, actually, there might be one little note I might continue on. Yes, Jimmy Savile was a big friend from the King, or of the King. Very, very good friend. In fact, the King had a lot of rather interesting friends like that. My Lord. Will and Kate, thank you very much. I've just come back to the chat screen and seen these stickers. Thank you so much. And I really can't appreciate you enough. And if I can find the bloody correct post, or maybe I haven't scrolled down fast enough yet to find them. Maybe they're back up too high. I would post them up. Oh, there's one. Thank you so much. Just because. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And to anybody else who's thrown a stick up and I've missed it while I've been talking, I apologize. I'll have to screw down through the chat a little later on, and I will apologize now for not naming you, but we'll try and do so tomorrow night. Thank you to Will and Kate. So I'm in two minds of whether or not to even bother talking about this, but I'm going to. I have to address it because it's just such a pathetic, sad, disappointing attempt to smear me in a way that is uncalled for, can't actually be backed up, and is just one of those really weak attempts to call me an infiltrator. And unfortunately, it seems to be coming from John Wilson. So he's released a little video on Telegram, in which he uses a piece where I talk about TAP. And I think you all know where I stand with TAP. But he's making another inference about the bus and where the money came from for the bus. And an inference that I'm the infiltrator. So I don't know what John Wilson's research team does. I know what John researches, but you clearly don't research deeply enough, because I've spoken about how the bus came into being afforded, and without naming people, because two of them want to remain anonymous, but not because they're any kind of deep staters. They're just people who don't require any public adoration, and I can respect that. I also know them personally, and I've got no problem. I've got no belief that they are of any control influence whatsoever. And they certainly have no control or influence over me and what we do with the bus. So, and I mean none, no input, none, zero. So I'm dismayed that John is using his old union smear tactics again, and deciding, rather than trying to create unity, he's trying to create division. I don't know where he gets his information from. Quite possibly, as he writes his reports to Ricardo on a weekly basis or whatever it is, quite possibly he's getting his information from the same place Ricardo and Rhiannon were getting theirs: prescription pills, alcohol, and long nights talking with spirits. Because there is no evidence that I'm an infiltrator. There is a lot of evidence that suggests I'm well hated by a great number of secret societies, but two in particular. And I'm not sure he isn't part of one of them. Let's put it that way. So I'm sorry that the division is the only way that John Wilson seems to feel he can have ongoing meaning in all of this. I'm guessing that he got his $200,000 that he was asking for, because, 3 or 4 weeks ago when he asked for it, he was only giving you 2 weeks to get it to him. or you can all get fucked, I'm going fishing, I think was the quote. So if he threatened you into donating money to him, and you did, well, I'll be interested to see what's going to happen. Really will. But I do wish the rants would stop, the bullshit division. I hold no malice towards John. I just, I'm disappointed that he's running this like it's 1977 and he's running a union campaign, or 1983. There are questions that John needs to answer. There might be good reasons why he can't answer them, but we'd need to hear those too. John was responsible, and I mean responsible, as the head of the ACTU and lead crane driver on the site of the new Parliament House build in Canberra. Now, that site had a number of cranes on it, but there was one, the biggest. And of course, being the boss of all the cranes, he knew what was going where, who was driving what, at all times. I asked him once, you were there when they started putting things in the bottom of that hole they dug for Parliament House. Tell me about it. He went white and said, I'll never tell you anything about that. Now, there might be reasons why that would be the case, but we all know and have heard the stories about what's in the bottom underneath that place. And if you haven't heard the stories, it has a bit to do with the altering levels of Lake Burley Griffin, tunnels, the altering level of Lake George, tunnels, submarines, and all sorts of high-tech electronic transport apparatus. We have absolutely no proof, as usual. Just pointing that out, to be fair. So I am disappointed that John wants to just sling this kind of shit. I mean, it's not even good. If he was going to have a go at me, I thought it might at least be a bit funny, but no. I think usually when I see this sort of approach taken to try and smear another the way this is going, it's usually because the person doing the smearing is on their last legs and it's a bit of a, dying thrash, if you like, to regain some position. The fact of the matter is I wish John nothing but the best. I thought we were fighting for the same things. These days I'm not so sure. While John fronts one thing, it has been my experience that many other things are often happening at the same time you may not know about. So take that as you will. If you know that, you can work with that. I did. But once he found out, I think that I'd been working things without telling him about them. He got a bit upset. And I don't really know why, because we've never spoken since. And he just did a Ricardo. Disappeared into the proverbial puff of smoke. And then started throwing barbs from a distance, while not being actually brave enough, man enough, strong enough to come on the show and talk to me about it. So for those sort of weak characters, I don't shed a tear. I don't get upset. I don't get angry. I am disappointed. I've spoken about the disappointment I've had from, the whole A1 experience, and now the disappointment that John, who is a loyal soldier of Ricardo, make absolutely no doubt of that, a very loyal soldier. And I can't fault that either. Good luck to him. I just fail to see what mileage he gets out of trying to associate me with the UN or with TAP or with a bunch of no-named somebodies who financed me into this bus. I can tell you that if the UN or a bunch of nobodies had offered me and financed me into a bus, it wouldn't have been 24 years old. It wouldn't be a bus that has a drinking problem. I mean a fuel drinking problem, like it drinks a lot of fuel. It wouldn't have been a bus that requires maybe a little more maintenance than your usual vehicle. No, I would have been funded, I would have thought, using my brain, into a brand new large motorhome that would do everything that was required. Something to the tune of $600,000 or more. That's what I would have been expecting if I was getting a bus from the people who wanted to make this happen, because that's what it would take to replace what I've got here, which we didn't pay anywhere near $600,000 for. So to accuse me of being somehow funded by, infiltrators, dark forces, Masonic groups, whatever you want to call it. Bullshit, John. Bullshit. I wouldn't be here cutting bits of wood up for $20 an hour if I was being funded by rich people in a $600,000 bus. I wouldn't be trying to make enough fuel money to go back on the road to go and talk to people and tell their stories, try and find out what their feelings are. And now that's going to be much harder to do in Queensland at the very least, because we can go to jail for what you say. I wonder whether or not John's going to fire up the boat and head south over the border. Probably be a wise thing, because we could bloody wind up cellmates the way we're going at the moment. So it wouldn't be too flash for us to be going in as enemies, I wouldn't have thought. Now, I can hear what John's saying right now. Oh, I know, fucking too many blokes in fucking jail. We'll sort him fucking right out. Who cares? It's not what it's about. All that kind of, this kind of bullshit does is show weakness. By ignoring problems and hoping they go away and throwing the odd grenade over the fence at them, doesn't achieve anything. Absolutely nothing for us anyway. It achieves a lot for those that would like to create division, those that would like to see us apart, those that would like to see us squabble amongst ourselves. And there's no doubt John has a great list of people he will not speak to, will not have anything to do with, for a variety of reasons. I suppose we've all got that. I don't have a list. I don't talk to anybody. I very rarely get asked for an interview, and that's as it should be. I'm not here to do the talking. I'm, to be interviewed as such. But I am here to try and bring people together. And I did see for a time that John and I could be very powerful at bringing people together. But what I also saw during that time we were together was that it was actually a threesome, but it was a silent threesome. All right? I knew the other person in the mix, but I had no contact with them. I knew everything I was saying was being related back in one fashion or another to that person. Never know what sort of seeds are planted in those conversations, do you, John? So just stop the bullshit. When you find a real infiltrator, go hard. Go hard. Show them up for what they are, but use proof, not just weasel words and to smear. It's just weak. And people see through that bullshit these days, John. People like honesty. And I'm honest. I've probably met 1 million Freemasons, wouldn't be able to tell you a handshake from a headbutt. I know damn well they want nothing to do with me. And for good reason. One that I'm probably not able to fully explain at the moment because I don't quite understand it myself. But I will get to it one day when I understand it better. I'm about bringing people together. Hear my voice. We can do this, but we can only do it together. You, me, John, Rick, Guru, the others, all the others, from every side of this movement, from the constitutionalists and common lawists through to the political types. But we have to be in it for all of us, not for ourselves. It's all about unity and throwing little pissant grenades like you did today over the fence at me are just simply an amusement to me, unless I try and turn them into a lesson for you. I hope that works. I hope you have a good night, folks. I don't think I've got too much more to say. I'm just disappointed. It's so old school. You really wouldn't expect much else, I guess, from an old school bloke like John, but it's just disappointing. Weakness when we are calling for strength. And John is one of the loudest voices for strength, for men to stand up and be manly men. Well, stop displaying this sort of weakness to you and whoever is advising you at the moment. You are weak, you are wrong, and you are divisive. And as long as you want to keep pointing that out and keep playing the game, I will keep pointing out those 3 points. You are weak, you are wrong, and you are divisive. What's gone wrong with your organization? Who is advising you today? Seriously. I am starting to wonder whether or not you aren't getting that inspiration from the bottle, be it the alcohol, the drugs, or divine intervention from the spirit realm. We've got to get better than this. And I'm a pissant, small pissant in this movement. Join the movement. Be leading by, instead of trying to score points on something that doesn't matter. What matters is us coming together. That's all. That's all. And if we can do that, it won't matter about the infiltrators because we will outnumber them. We will be educated enough to spot them and ignore them, and at the right time, hold them accountable. That's all. So, sad as it is the state of John's nation at the moment. Throwing little grenades over the bow and trying not to run over them himself. He may have just hit one. All right. Oh, Yeah, I think the worldwide war is, the worldwide war will happen. How wide in the world it'll be? Well, I don't know. The missiles, if they are fired from Ukraine and go over and hit in Russia, will have been manufactured in America. That will put America very much on the target. So will every other NATO country. So Paris, London. Turkey has been making some interesting noises recently and are a member of NATO. I'm unsure which way Turkey would go I think they would probably support NATO, but there are other influences there. So, yeah, watch this space. Shaz, who cares about the boatie? Let him go fishing. He has to answer to Jesus one day. My word, yes, he does. Yeah. Yeah, I think you've nailed that one there, Sandy. Jinder Lee, my pitchforks analogy, if you like, is aimed at the old days when the people got angry and they had to go and fight the king or the king's men who were armed with swords and bows and arrows and axes and maces and all those sorts of things. What did the people take? They took the only weapons they had, the weapons off the land they worked. Pitchforks, hoes, that sort of stuff. That's all the weapons the people had. So when you hear me refer to pitchforks and the people picking up the pitchforks, that's what I'm referring to. It's a polite way of not referring to what a modern day pitchfork might be. Doesn't attract as much attention of the algorithms, if you know what I'm saying. So I hope I have explained that a little bit for you. The World War, I think this is an important question for you. I don't believe we're going to get to the World War. I think we are going to maybe see the beginning of a confrontation. I think we are going to see a retaliation from Russia that will be strong but measured. And I would say that the CIA base that is Ukraine might have a significant problem. I do not believe we will see a Russian attack on American soil. I do think there is a chance they may strike Germany. I think there might be a chance they'll strike France. And there might be a chance they would strike the UK. Well, now, whether that means the land, UK mainland, French mainland, I don't know. The French have a lot of interests in Africa and other places in the world. The Russians have a lot of interests there too. They could do significant damage there while making a point without hitting mainland France, if you like, and the same for the UK. America? Well, most parts of America that aren't on mainland America have US bases on them. So striking a US base in retaliation for a Russian base that was hit, tit for tat, that could happen. But as somebody posted earlier tonight, I think right at the very head of the chat, we are watching a movie, and every day with decisions like this latest one from the Queensland government, I feel just reinforces that, because who and how could such legislation, a bill, be passed without any conversation with the people it affects most? How can it be rammed through? And how can the people just say, oh, yeah, okay, that's all right? Because they will put you in jail. They'll be looking for people like John and I to make examples of. If that happens, somebody please call a lawyer on my behalf and set up a GoFundMe page, because we have no money. Our big UN infiltrator backers have let us down quite substantially in the funding department. So we'd need a lawyer and the funds to back it up. Please bear that in mind. I don't know how you'll find where I'll be locked up, but I'm sure you've been able to find so many other things out in the world. That won't be a hard one. All right. I have talked a bit longer than I expected tonight, so I will let you all go. Phil, you're 100% right. Unity is what we need. And look, I think it can be. I was getting really angry about people not unifying, okay? But I've recently had a bit of an epiphany, if you like, or as Laura and I like to call it, an epiphanation, that we all learn at a different pace. Some of us are here to learn lessons. Some of us are here to support those learning lessons, to maybe guide those learning lessons. Some of us, all of us, I think, are here to learn at least one lesson in this life. But I think the biggest lesson that every soul that comes back to this plane to experience this existence needs to learn and bring back to this plane, to this realm, is unity. Because where we made our soul contracts, our home, is totally unified. Totally together as one. And we need to bring that to this realm. And we're not going to do it by lobbing little grenades at each other. Or, in the case of Russia and NATO, big missiles at each other. The people are the only ones that can stop the madness of government. Unfortunately, it's not going to be as easy as leaving them out on the road and waiting for the dickheads to run over them.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!